Hi, hello. Hi, everyone. I'd like to share with you today my joy for adventures. An adventure where you get to try something new, something out of the ordinary, but not always knowing what to expect. But that's the exciting part. You see, there's one story, that one adventure story that really stands out to me the most, and that is Alice in Wonderland. You see, Alice is an ordinary girl going through an ordinary day where she was receiving her tutoring lessons. Now, like most of us as a young student, she wasn't particularly too excited about the class she was in. In fact, she was daydreaming about the things outside of her class. And then one day, all of a sudden, a white rabbit caught her attention. She was curious. She follows him into this mysterious door, and she landed herself into a wonderland where she met the most extraordinary characters and went through the most unpredictable events. And along the way, she learned and she grew. You see, today, I like to share with you my little adventure story on my career journey and how I found my own white rabbit moments and then how they led me through doors into a series of adventurous opportunities. And what I've learned is that, from my experience, is that when you stay curious and when you stay adventurous, you'll be surprised by how much it could challenge you, how much it could challenge what you thought you knew. Back in 2012, like Alice, I was working on a normal daily routine job where I was working as an assistant art director at an advertising agency. Now, whilst I did learn a lot from there, I was also craving very much to tell my own stories, to realize my own visions. And I love music. I love music. And so at the time, I was craving to do my own music video. So I was looking for the right song, the right sound to pair it up with. And then one day, my friend tells me about this music gig that she's going to. And I was like, yeah, sure, I would love to come check it out. When's it going to be? She told me, it's going to be early morning on a Saturday. Now, I usually don't wake up that early, especially on weekends. But I thought, why not? Why not just check it out? And there was my white rabbit moment. And to my absolute delight and surprise, that was the right sound I've been looking for. And I'll show you why. You're looking at Sonic and his team, and you got Johnny on the guitar and Aaron on the turntable. Now, what I really like about them is that in some of their songs, they also feature speeches and dialogues from movies that they find inspiring. So when I first saw them, I was absolutely mesmerized by the performance. So after the performance, I went up to them. I asked, please, I love your music. Can I please feature one of your songs for my music video? Not only did they give me their favorite track called The Eve, they were also willing to give me their time to be in the video. Now, let me show you a little excerpt of The Eve, and I want you to listen carefully, the voice that they featured.
Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind.
You just heard the voice of Charlie Chaplin. In his speech, it was in his movie called The Great Dictator, made back in 1940. And in his speech, he said, it was a speech where he yearns for a better world that we could all live in. And he said, we all want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Now, isn't that something to think about? And how relevant it is today, it still is till today. And then there is one more quote that really impacted me in his speech. He said, in the speech, he said, you, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. I thought to myself, he's right, that's true. We do have the power to make this life as wonderful as we hope to be. And that's when I decided, instead of waiting for an opportunity to do what I love, why not just create the opportunity? And so that was the birth of the music video, The Eve. These are some screen caps from the video, and you could see the full version on my website. What we did was we rewrote the lyrics in order to make a more original content, of course inspired by Charlie Chaplin's speech and the spirit in it. And of course, we also utilized the free, beautiful spaces that we have in Hong Kong for our shots. The main thing was, this project gave me a sense of purpose. And I was happy because I was doing what I love. Now, without a great team, this video wouldn't exist either. And there's Johnny and Nat, who's the friend who introduced me to the band, and Aaron. What's interesting is Aaron is actually, at the time, studying to become a doctor. And Johnny was studying to become a lawyer. But so I'm thankful till today that not only did they give me the trust and time in my passion project, we also had a lot of fun together, and we had our own little adventures during our shoots. Most of all, we push each other and help each other along the way. Now, what I learned from that experience is that I miss the joy. I miss this pure joy of creating. And then I decided to make a bold move, at least a bold move on my part. And that was, I quit my job as a full-time assistant art director at an advertising agency to pursue my dream as a storyteller, as a filmmaker. Now, sounds like a grand dream, isn't it? So, now what? What's my next story? And then I looked back into The Eve, and I realized my next white rabbit was right there within. Now, out of these four screen caps from the video, can you guess which one I was drawn to the most? It was this guy. Now, what's so special about him? I met him briefly through a social worker from SOCO, which is an NGO called Society for Community Organization. And it's an NGO that dedicates themselves to helping underprivileged families and individuals living in cage homes, cubicle homes, and partition homes. When I met him at his apartment in Ngau Tau Gok, it was a 450 square feet living space, shared amongst 11 other tenants. That leaves each of them about 36 square feet space, of living space. And to give you a better idea of what's that like, it was a length and width of 2 single mattresses. Now, to say the least, I was shocked by their living conditions. And I was interested to learn more about him. What's his story? What's his background? Not only was I interested in learning more about him for myself, it became my mission to share his story to others. Because otherwise, stories like this often left unknown. So I approached SOCO. I volunteered myself to them. I was like, please, I expressed my interest in representing their story through my film work. And then they said no to me. But then they turned back around and said, would you feature our mentorship program instead? And that was the birth of my first short documentary called Inspire Hope. So to tell a little bit more about the mentorship program, the mentors are either young professionals or young retirees, and the mentees are children from underprivileged backgrounds living in cage homes or cubicle homes. And together, they meet on a weekly basis for a year And these mentors would help them with either their homework or bring them out to play sports with them or just field trips in general. The point was to just have fun with them, show them what's out there, what's around in the community, because otherwise these children don't often have the opportunity to do so. I got to witness how they touch each other's lives and how they learn from each other too. Not only was I inspired by their stories, it has also challenged my presumptions of what Hong Kong people are like. You see, I've always thought Hong Kong people tend to be realistic, pragmatic, and oftentimes only think for themselves. But meeting these mentors, these passionate individuals who just want the best for these children, I was touched. And it was a breath of fresh air for me to meet them. Because if I didn't do this project, I wouldn't have met these people otherwise. Now, as rewarding as that experience was, and I wouldn't trade this adventure for anything else, the truth is, mind you again, I just quit my job, and working on Inspire Hope, from research stage to filming to editing, it took up a good chunk of my time, and it took about 3 to 4 months, and I was working into my savings at the time. And as an unknown freelancer, I was only slowly picking up on projects. So the question of now what was always lingering over my head. And then by late 2014, my next white rabbit appeared again. I remember it was a Thursday morning, and I got this phone call, and it was a number I didn't even recognize. And I was so sure it was going to be some telemarketing number. And but the truth was, I had nothing better to do at the time but to pick up this phone call. I was like, wait. She's like, hey, my name is Nicola. I'm calling from the Women's Foundation. We came across your short documentary, Inspire Hope, and we're interested to see if you're available to do our documentary project. I told her I could meet her that day. And that was the birth of She Objects. Now, She Objects is a 1-hour-long documentary that examines the consequences of media's influence on young girls in Hong Kong, especially on the promotion of the thinness ideal and how hypersexualization of female images on screen correlates to the erosion of female ambition in society. Now, working on this documentary has its own new set of challenges. First of all, it was the longest film I've ever made on a topic that is equally subjective and sensitive. I worked on this for 18 months. I didn't see my friends for 12 months. But I knew this was a precious opportunity for me because all of a sudden, I was given the chance to communicate to a whole new generation of young girls. And through this adventure, I also got to meet all sorts of people and hear all sorts of stories from students, parents, people working in the media, in front of the camera and behind the camera, and intellectuals. And through their stories and through their experiences, it expanded my understanding, and I gained insights on how things work, how relationship works, relationships between kids, parents, boys, girls, society, and individual. Hearing the girls' stories also opened my heart and empathy. And most of all, through this, I learned the importance of embracing differences rather than fighting against differences. Now, since the launch of She Objects, I got my first taste of bad reviews, but at the same time, it gained public interest. More importantly, I gained unique connections with my audience. After screening, girls and adults would come up to me and share their stories, and in return, I would share mine too. I was given the chance to speak up and speak out. And to think that by following my passion it has landed me here today to share my story with you is pretty unbelievable. And to think that my dream of telling stories for artistic expression and entertainment has now evolved to utilizing film as a mode to drive change. Now, my journey is to be continued. In fact, I have a long way to go still. But what I will keep doing is keep an eye out for my white rabbit moments, have them lead me through doors, and through my work and through the stories I share, I want to show you the unbelievable things all around us, the extraordinary people and the extraordinary stories. And through their stories, I want to push boundaries. I want to break stereotypes. I want to challenge what you thought you knew and let us all reimagine what could be possible. And whether it be documentary, music video, short or long films, I hope one day my work, the stories I share in it, would be that door that you walk through into unknown territory, into new adventures. Now, likewise, you can create your own adventure too. And adventures, I think, come in big and small sizes. It could be talking to someone outside of your immediate circle, or instead of waiting for an opportunity, create it. Take the initiative. And more importantly, be persistent and go through things that you set your mind to all the way. Because what I've learned is that when you stay curious and when you stay adventurous, that's when life opens up to possibilities and it becomes more full and colorful. Thank you.